Know where you are calling in from. My name is Serena. I'm the marketing director at SIY Global, and I'm here with the CEO, Rich Fernandez. So, welcome. We see we've got a bunch of folks joining, so we'll just give a minute to join here, and then we'll get started. Hello from New Hampshire. Yes, please let us know where you're coming in from in the chat if you're able to. El Salvador, Wichita, Kansas. Hi, Kristen. Hi from Florida, Suzanne. Denmark, the Netherlands. Welcome, welcome. Denver, Toronto, all over the world you can see today. SIY Global is truly a global community. We're so glad to have you all. Welcome. We'll go ahead and get started. My name is Serena Roschman. I'm the Director of Marketing for SIY Global. I am joined by Rich Fernandez, the CEO of SIY Global. And we're so happy to talk with you today about teacher training, give you a little bit more info on what it is, why it's really important today, and of course, answer any questions that you all have about the program. So to that end, we'll start talking with some notes and kind of explain things, what it is and why it matters. But as we're talking, please feel free to type a question in the Q&A. We have our teacher training coordinator extraordinaire, Aislinn, with us here today. She really knows the program well. You'll probably correspond with her if you sign up for the program. So she's here to answer any detailed questions you have. So please don't hesitate to ask questions in the Q&A section. With that, I'd like to hand it over to Rich for an arrival practice.
Thank you so much, Serena, and welcome everybody. It is always just a real joy, I have to say personally, to know that we're having attendees from all over the world. We really aspire to be a global company, and it's just great to see where everybody is from. So welcome. One of the things that you'll learn about our approach is that we very much believe in practicing skills around neuroscience-based mindfulness, emotional intelligence, these qualities that form the core of the SIY platform. And so we actually want to invite you to something we call a micropractice, completely optional. And we'll just take maybe 30, 60 seconds or so, somewhere in between there, to just take a moment. And we like to call this practice, this micropractice, a moment to arrive. It means allowing our attention to arrive fully in this present moment, in this situation we found ourselves in. Because a lot of us may be coming from other contexts, other meetings, other commitments, personal, work-related. And so it's just a moment to bring your attention into this present moment and join together. So you don't have to do anything special. If you'd like, you can close your eyes. You can keep your eyes open. But what I'd ask you to do is notice your attention, and we'll just do this for 30 seconds. Notice your attention and bring your attention to an anchor point, to a single point that is here and now. The breathing can be a useful one, or the body, since we all are breathing and we all have bodies. And just bring your awareness and attention to your body or your breath, and just notice the experience in your body, or notice the experience in your breath. If you're noticing your breathing, you might notice the breath coming in and then out of your body. And if you're connecting with your attention to your body, just notice the experience of your body that you're having in this moment. Letting your attention rest on the breath, on the body, on a single anchor point in this moment. And allowing your mind and your body and heart to arrive in this moment. All right, and maybe taking one final last breath and then rejoining the group. So thank you. I just wanted to offer a brief micro practice. It's a tiny, tiny taste of some of the things that we that we offer as part of our platform. And I'll hand it back to Serena to share a little bit more about teacher training and the overall SIY platform.
Yeah, thank you, Rich. I don't know about you all. I always feel like even though it's so short, it really changes how I feel and how I'm approaching the setting I'm in. So thank you, Rich, for guiding us through that. So now I just want to talk just for a few brief minutes on just the question of what is this? Who is it for? Right. So some of you might know about the program. Some of you may be just joining for the first time and learning about us. So just to give a tiny bit of background here. Over 10 years ago, the Search Inside Yourself program was developed at Google, and that was to train their team on how neuroscience, emotional intelligence, and mindfulness could come together to improve work, right? Among other things. Our organization, SIY Global, has its roots in this program, but we are now branching out into developing many others that help people in corporate settings to develop emotional intelligence skills like building psychological safety, making sure teams are collaborative, right? Building resilience and more. And we've found over the years that folks really want to learn to teach some of these offerings to their colleagues, their teams within work settings, or if they're independent consultants, they want to add these programs to their toolkit that they can offer clients. So that's why we've developed this teacher training program. It's been refined over the years, and now it is a 12-week training for folks that are looking to train science-based emotional intelligence skills in large global companies or in large companies of folks where there are employees more than, say, 500 to 1,000 people, so larger companies. The training is offered online in English. At this time, we only offer the training in English, although the materials are available in other languages. And the training is 2 live multi-day sessions that you have to attend to complete it, as well as other independent and group work in between sessions. Who is this for? The training is open to both folks that work within large organizations and would like to teach this, like I said, among their colleagues or their teams, or independent consultants who want to add this to their toolkit. We find that the independent consultants cohort does best when they're not at the very beginning of their career, but they have an established roster of clients that they work with that are in this kind of large organization bucket. That's who we really think we can serve best with this program. And of course, people join for a number of reasons. Obviously, adding EI as a skill. We think our point of view is that in the age of AI, EI is even more important. Emotional intelligence is even more important. And in our program, you really learn how to make that practical. You learn about the neuroscience. You learn about how to put it to practice in these big and small ways, like what we just experienced with Rich. And this, if you are an individual contributor at work, this can help you to build a sense of purpose. It can build your leadership skills, and really see the effects of this work within your own environment. So there is also the fact that you're joining this community, right? You can see we're a global community, and it's all folks who are like-minded in the sense that we want to make a difference in the way that we work, right? Make it humanize work to deliver results in a better way. So after this training, you will be certified to teach Search Inside Yourself and several of our other programs. And the next session that we're offering starts in February. And we have other sessions coming up in 2024 that we'll talk about later on. So that's just the sort of basic logistics. Now what I'd like to do is to hand things back over to Rich, because I'm really curious if Rich, as an executive, could really speak to this question of, why is this training important right now? Why is it essential and crucial that companies are trained in this way? And how can these folks who really want to take on the role of teacher really be positioned for success through this training? So I'll hand things back over to you, Rich.
Thank you so much, Serena. Yeah, and I I believe that data and pictures are worth 1,000 words. So what I'd like to do is actually share a little bit of a presentation. You can always watch this back on our website if you wanted to refer back to it. But let me share this presentation with you all because I think it's often very helpful to just sort of see what we're talking about. I think the first thing to share is a little bit of our origin story. As Serena mentioned, we started off at Google. It was created because Google engineers realized at some point that they had to work with other humans, which I'm not sure was clear from their job description. So we wanted to create a platform that was neuroscience based, that focused on emotional intelligence, leadership, mindfulness, and all these qualities that help grow and transform the business. So I was an early part of that. I was the director of executive education at Google. So I led leadership development for the senior leaders at Google, and I was an early SIY teacher and also helped form the platform there. We got so much interest within Google, and then my colleague Meng Tan wrote a wonderful book called Search Inside Yourself that became a bestseller. And then we got all of this attention outside of Google from other organizations, such that we got permission to create a separate educational institute, the Search Inside Yourself Leadership Institute, and launched in 2012. And then, some years later, as you can see here in the timeline, it became clear in 2022 that we wanted to create a benefit corporation that could take investment capital to really scale and grow, and especially create the digital tools around neuroscience-based social and emotional intelligence. So that is SIY Global today. But that's our origin story. That's where we came from. And Serena was mentioning this idea of humanized work. It really touches into our vision and mission and theory of change. Our vision is a more peaceful world where people feel connected and act with compassion, really beginning in the workplace. That we will spend close to 40% of our waking lives working. And so that is a huge portion of our time. And so we think showing up in the workplace with these skills and developing these skills is critical, such that our mission is to really build awareness, connection, and emotional intelligence, especially in the workplace. And the way we work is both with individual transformation as well as team and organizational transformation, really thinking about this from a systems perspective. But why now? Why is this useful now? And this goes a little bit to why this is relevant in today's world. First of all, if we start to look at some of the research, we see that according to the World Economic Forum, that 6 out of the 10 of future of work skills, this just comes out of their Future of Work report in May 2023, 6 of the 10 skills are going to be human-centered. And what I highlighted there in red is the differential between what they say is going to be necessary and their actual focus and strategy and investment in those areas. And you could see also here that key areas that are going to be need to invested in and to reskill are not just AI and big data, which we know is to be true, but also leadership, and then things like design and user experience. So really important going forward in today's world, the future of work. We have this other research from Microsoft, 31,000 people, 31 countries. This is the Microsoft Work Trends Index report. The 3 most critical skills needed for the future will be analytical judgment, flexibility, and emotional intelligence. So again, you could see this sort of human-oriented dimension. Well, what about the part of the world of work that isn't human anymore? What about the world of work that's, artificial intelligence, and what does that mean for the world of work? Here's the thing, according to the Future of Jobs report as well, the World Economic Forum, yes, it is true, 75%, more than 75% of companies will be adopting AI, cloud, and big data solutions. And the impact on jobs, interestingly, will be net positive, according to the World Economic Forum. However, the skills that workers will need will be disrupted. They will need to change. And those top 5 skills are analytical thinking, creative thinking, AI and big data, leadership, social influence, resilience, flexibility, and agility. So again, here you can see at least half of the skills are human oriented, are social and emotional and resilience oriented, for example. Well, is it possible to think about these things together? We believe so. So Serena mentioned, how do we deliver impact by humanizing work? How can you both focus on performance and results as well as humanize work? That is our focus. That's really our theory of change, because we believe you can do it together. And it's not just a belief, there's actual data that really backs this up. If you look at the Great Places to Work Institute 2023 report, you see that the 100 best companies to work for, which is kind of a sort of independently verified rating of great place to work. People feel that their workplace is a great place to work. They outperform most indices by over 1,000%. If you look at revenue per employee of great places to work, it steadily increases when it becomes a great place to work, again, from the Great Places to Work Institute. And then if you look at the predictive nature of company well-being, when employees experience well-being in companies, what does it predict? This is according to the University of Oxford's Wellbeing Research Center study published in May 2023. It predicts well-being in companies predict firm value, return on assets, and return on profits. So really strong evidence suggesting that these things are not binary, they're not separate. Well-being, human-centric workplace and skills help deliver and drive performance in many ways. You can also look at these things. Here's a causal link also out of that same University of Oxford study, where happiness, satisfaction, a sense of purpose, and manageable stress allow companies to outperform key financial indices such as the S&P and the NASDAQ and Dow Jones. In blue, you see companies that have the highest percentage of these aspects of satisfaction, happiness, stress, stress-free environments, and purpose. So that's great. It seems perhaps intuitive that well-being leads to engagement, leads to performance in companies. Well, what about Search Inside Yourself and what we actually do? What about this actual offering that we're discussing? What impact has that had globally? Does it have a similar kind of impact? Well, we've been doing this for over 10 years now. And we've trained at this stage, I'd say actually it's well over 250,000 people with a 93% net promoter score. And this is across a sample size of about 30,000 people across 25 countries. Now, promoter score is the extent to which participants will recommend the experience, the product, or the platform. So we have a 93% net promoter score, and then the participants reported an increase in well-being, 10%, and then 11% increase in performance. In terms of the organization perspective, organizations that run Search Inside Yourself and related programming see about a 200% return on investment. And this is based on a case study with our largest client, SAP, which is the multinational software company. And then, we have over 600 certified teachers in 60 countries, working in 60 countries, in 17 different languages. So just a little sense of the global impact. I also like to share this case study, which is in the public domain. It's from SAP, who've implemented Search Inside Yourself. And you could see across these different domains, well-being, engagement, meaning, creativity, relationship quality, that there are increases over time. Because as you can see, this is a somewhat longitudinal study. It takes place over 6 months. And they see these improvements in all these different areas, as well as a reduction. The one thing that went down was stress. So participants report that when they experience Search Inside Yourself, when they're able to use the tools of Search Inside Yourself 4 weeks after the program, 6 months after the program, they're seeing these percentage changes. And then, at SAP, again, they report about a 200% return on investment. They've trained at this stage, actually, over 15,000 people at SAP, and there's thousands on the wait list. I just share this because it's a nice case study of how SIY has been implemented in a large company. If I was to describe what that pathway is, it's really to lay down, as you can see here, a foundation of neuroscience. Serena mentioned that we're based and grounded in neuroscience. So we talk about the neural correlates of emotional intelligence, what parts of the brain are activated, and how you might activate them through practices like mindfulness, which operationalize emotional intelligence. And by emotional intelligence, we mean these four dimensions, sort of the widely understood definition of emotional intelligence. So the personal attributes of self-awareness and self-management, and then the interpersonal attributes of social awareness and relationship management. So again, cultivating those by understanding the neuroscience basis of it and creating it through practices that then, as you can see, as you move up, enhance leadership, create sustainable performance, and create well-being. And ultimately, at the very, very top line, the organizational outcomes tend to be a better employee engagement, accelerated business transformation and innovation, better decision-making, alignment with values and purpose, and then business impacts and growth overall. So just to finish up this talk, how do we do that? It's becoming a champion, teaching you how to teach. And so it starts with your own practice, how you might embody these practices, how you might deepen your understanding, for example, of the neuroscience, making the case using behavioral research, how you might then facilitate transformational learning experiences. So this is both combining experiential components like the micropractices and like the one I sampled with you in the beginning of this, also sharing some of the scientific data, also sharing some of the conceptual models. So it's really a mix of experiential, conceptual, scientific. As Serena mentioned, everything we do is meant to be extremely practical and usable in everyday work and life. And then we also really work with you to facilitate discussions skillfully and develop that skill set if you don't already have it. And then certainly sustainment practices, digital tooling, and everything like that. So that's a little bit of a flavor of why we think SIY is really critical today and sort of where we came from and where we hope to go with it. So I'm going to pause there and just see if there's any comments, questions for us. And I'll maybe turn it to Serena too to help facilitate that portion.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. I think it really highlights, it's so interesting to see trends in the workplace and how even, this program was developed 15 years ago or 10 years ago, but it's even more relevant now because we're adding to it. And we just did a look at all of the neuroscience in the SIY program and really looked at that with two neuroscientists and said, what needs to be updated? How can we keep this material really fresh? So yeah, maybe we could turn to some of the questions. Let's see here. Okay. The usefulness in large organizations.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. This is
That's a
useful.
great question.
Yeah, it's not just for large organizations. It will be useful for startups, small teams, consultants who work with startups. Absolutely. Like I told you, the origin of this and still what's really critical about it is it helps people work well with other people, which is a
Yeah.
surprisingly, tricky thing, and makes all the difference in the world. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. And let's see, what teachers are qualified to teach after the session. So that's an evolving thing. You're qualified to teach Search Inside Yourself, and that's the focus of the program. You also are able to teach our effective teaming program and our adaptive resilience program. And Aislinn might share more in the chat, but basically we're kind of continuing to add programs now. This is a time in our business we're really expanding in terms of product. We've got our incredible leader of the product team, Ryan Heinel, who's expanding our product portfolio. So there'll be more added as time goes on, and some onboarding resources for teachers to get up to speed on selections of those new programs.
And all of them are accessible to be taught and sustained through our digital platform, which is responsive across all devices. It's GDPR compliant. It has all of the kind of features that perhaps your enterprise grade organizations would need. And that's the humanizedwork.com platform, which is available to you when you become a certified teacher. It has all the research, it has all the slideware, it has everything you need to be a facilitator of this. And I want to answer one of the other questions: who are some of our most interested clients? Well, they're not just interested. We've been in business for close to 12 years now, and we have many large companies, SAP and Google and Procter and Gamble, but also outside the tech sector, companies like Disney, Visa, a wide array of companies, and so you could look at them on our website. So we have a lot of experience with large companies. We also work a lot with university partners. So MIT, University of Toronto, those are some examples. Rutgers, these are examples of some other clients. And we also work with government agencies and whole governments, in fact, like the nation of Bhutan contracted us as a company. That's an interesting story, perhaps for another time. You can read about some of the blogs there. What are some of the other questions we have?
Great, thank you. Okay, so we have some questions here. Let's see. Time for pod meetings. All right. Just taking a moment to read here. Is a pendant like to know you're certified to teach? Okay. Yeah. So there's a question about continuing education. Rich, what has your experience been? You worked the organization for a number of years. How are teachers kind of continue to be educated in our new programs?
Yeah, so every time a new program comes, available to you, you have teacher training guides. We have refresher courses, and a lot of them are also asynchronous, so you can access them on Humanized Work. So it's meant to be something that you're able to continue to upskill on, which might relate also to another question here around practical question as an independent business owner. What can't you do? How does the licensing model work? Basically, the way it works is that you pay an annual fee to have access to all of these, and then you're able to teach them to other clients. You're licensing them from us to your outside clients.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of details that you're probably considering. So we do have a really detailed program guide that goes over the fee structure and all of that. So I'll paste that in the chat here too, if you want to download the program guide. And then there's also places where you can ask a question. You'll reach probably Aislinn, who can answer these questions for you in more detail if we're not able to get to them in the chat. And we will also include the program guide in our follow-up materials too. And maybe another thing that you are wondering about is can I try this out? Can I try out Search Inside Yourself if you don't know, you haven't experienced it before? And just to let you know that we do have public programs that we run. So I'll paste the link to our calendar. It's also on our website under public programs. We've got a Search Inside Yourself that wouldn't probably work in time for folks that are joining the February cohort, although you could still register and be doing that while you're doing the training. But there are other programs too that are new to our collection that you could sample here in the public program offering. Yes, the deadline is the 22nd. I believe that's correct. Aislinn, correct me if I'm wrong there. So you apply on the website, and you'd like to share our contacts? Yeah, the next cohorts will start. Yeah, the next cohort will start in April, and let's share the dates for the rest of the year with the last moment we have here. So upcoming sessions, we've got one starting in February, as I just mentioned. So that's next month. Deadline is coming up in a couple of weeks. We have the next session will be from April to June. So that's, a spring option. And then September to November in 2024. These are hot off the press. So we will update the site with those really soon, but you're finding out first of the next sessions.
I'm aware of time, and I do want to answer one last final fun question, I think, which is, what are we having fun learning right now as a team?
That's a great question.
because I just was discussing this with the whole team, which is that you may get the sense that we are in this kind of rapid expanding phase. We are. We've been really seeing tremendous interest out there for our work, and our product suite is expanding rapidly. You'll notice that also. So the thing about growth is you have to also grow and be mindful of the culture as it grows. And so what we're doing is we're really working to pay attention to our culture, to really think about how we are sustaining our own well-being, our own sustainable practices around resilience as we, have these very audacious, I've heard the phrase BHAG, which some of you may have an association with, but it means big, honorable, audacious goals. And so we have our BHAG. We have our BHAG set before us as a team. We aspire to do a lot and continue to grow globally. We're seeing tons of interest, but we also are really learning that we have to continue to always, look after ourselves as we do the work. We're hoping to help humanize the workplace, and so we start with ourselves.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. Thanks for that. And thanks everyone for attending. If we didn't get to your question, I know there are a lot of them. I'm dropping the email that you can email. It's teach@siYglobal.com. You'll also receive an email from us with the information from this event, so you can ask your question that way too. We really appreciate everyone joining us from all over the world, and we're hoping we're going to see some of you in the upcoming teacher training session. So thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.